Hello, hello!
I'm Amanda.
And I'm Anthony.
And we are AV Adventures.
Today we are going to be talking about dark rides that you can only find at Disneyland. So let's talk about that. In the past, we've done a video on comparing the rides that exist both at Disneyland and at Disney World resorts, and kind of our comparison, which we like better. This is specifically dark rides, and specifically rides that are only in Disneyland, that don't have an equivalent in Disney World.
Yep.
So that's what we're discussing today. And some of them used to be in Disney World, but now you can only see them in Disneyland. So basically this is just, if you're going to Disneyland, this is a guide of what you might want to check out while you're there.
The first one that we're going to cover is Snow White's Scary Adventures.
Yes.
This one did used to be at Walt Disney World, so you might remember it from there. But they overhauled it, they got rid of it and put something else in its place, and then put a different Snow White attraction in, because it was truly Snow White's Scary Adventures.
Yeah, it was. A lot of these dark rides that we're going to cover are kind of creepy.
Really creepy.
Like,
I'm shocked.
Yeah, you ride them and you're like, why was this designed for
kids?
But they are fun. They're a lot of fun. They're very unique. But anyway, back to Snow White.
They're very unique. We just cover it in that unique.
One quick fun fact before we move away from it used to be at Disney World. They took the animatronics from the Disney World version of the ride, and in the new ride, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, at the very end, if you look to your right, there's that cabin where they're all dancing. Those are the old animatronics. But anyway, back to Disneyland. So, Snow White's Scary Adventures, that is, once again, it's creepy.
It's nice though. It's like that classic Disney feel. Like it's a classic Disney dark ride. The animatronics, like for me, there's a little bit of nostalgia with that, of like I grew up with that. But then there's a scene where you go through like the forest, and all these trees are like clawing at, not you, but like as you're going through the room. It's just kind of scary.
Yeah, think of that scary scene from the movie where she's running through the forest and the trees are like lunging out at her. That's what it feels like.
But then also at the end, like the witch, the queen, is scaring, like coming after you. You're going through a scene of where like this boulder is falling on top of you, and then that's the end of the ride. Like you come out and that's it. And they later added a little scene where like Prince Charming and Snow White, where they're like saying goodbye to you or whatever, because it was scary, and like that's how they ended the ride.
Lots of other Disney YouTubers have done videos on the history of this ride, because it started out just super terrifying and got a little bit softer over time. So definitely go check something like that out. It was a scary ride, and it's gotten a little better, but it's still kind of creepy. And speaking of creepy rides, let's talk about Pinocchio.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. You like Pinocchio.
I thought that one was pretty fun because I love the movie. I don't know what it is, but there's above all of the old, like the old Disney movies, Dumbo, Pinocchio, Snow White, that one is really nostalgic for me, and I'm not sure why, because it's. I
feel like nostalgic trumps scary. Sometimes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Like there are the frightening scenes in it, but the music, I like well up with tears every time we start watching that movie, and so it was fun to go through the ride.
It's too, not scary for me, but it's too like weird for me to really enjoy that, and I think that's what comes out in the ride, is that you go through the scene with the kids that turn into donkeys. Yeah, you got
the Pleasure Island scene.
It's just odd. Like you're going through and you're like, this is fun? No.
Yeah. and I think an overarching theme with these dark rides is it's hard to tell the story from riding through the ride. It's hard to try to understand
the bad part,
what they're trying to communicate. Through these rides.
So this one, like you go through some of that, but then also too, like some of the most quintessential, like the beginning of Disney came from this movie. And so you got Jiminy Cricket with When You Wish Upon a Star, and the Blue Fairy, and the Pepper's Ghost Effect with the Blue Fairy, which is really cool. So all of that's in there. So there's some really cool parts, and then there's some other parts that like kind of put you on edge a little bit, or they at least do for me. So
a little bit creepy.
So ending our trifecta of these scary dark rides at Disney, we're landing with Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, is that what it's called?
Which, if you've seen Ichabod and Mr. Toad, it's not that scary. Like the show itself is not scary.
Yeah.
You know, you go through the ride, you go through Toad Hall, and the motor car chase.
Which is interesting because when you were at Walt Disney World, there were actually 2 tracks, and so you would go through the library once. So like they had these different ways to go through, and people really enjoyed that. At Disneyland, they don't have that. There's just one track the whole way through. But both of them took you through this wild chase on this little motor car. His motor car.
A motor car.
And then you would end like you were running from the law. So because you ran from the law,
you crash at the end, and the last scene is literally hell.
Like you go into hell.
And the judge is like the devil.
And like, it's
so weird.
It's very weird. And that's the end of the ride again. And you're like,
you come
cool.
out and that's it.
Like,
all done.
So that's odd, first of all. But they got rid of that one in Disney World to make way for Winnie the Pooh.
So moving on from scary rides, let's go to a bit of a lighter note.
Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, Alice in Wonderland. So that's one that you can only find at Disneyland. I don't think it's ever been at Disney World. So, you know, moving on from that as well. It's just really fun. It is really fun. It's nice.
It captures the sweetness of the movie really well.
Yeah, without making it overly
like even the Queen of Hearts isn't scary.
Yeah.
Like you go through that part and it's fun. And the only thing that I don't like is they kind of like end the ride a little bit where you're in these caterpillars and you leave the ride to go outside and you're going through this caterpillar and you come down on this vine, like these leaves coming down. You think that's the end of the ride, and then you go through the Marianne birthday scene,
final scene,
and it's like, wait, what? Like I thought we were done.
Yep.
But so you go back in this room, then you come back out again, and that's the only thing I don't like. But otherwise, like it's a fun ride.
So the next ride we're moving on to is Roger Rabbit's Toontown Spin in Toontown in Disneyland. So this is a really cool, unique ride where you're in the taxi cab. Remember the little yellow taxi cab from the movie? And what's really cool about this one is you actually have the steering wheel, so you can turn him different ways, and you could be spinning all the way through the ride if you wanted to. But
it makes it super like you never ride the same. Like if you wanted it to be easier, you could just not. And then if you want like a crazy ride, you can spin that, and it's just always different.
It's a lot of fun.
And they've got cool effects too. Like there's like the stretching arm that he does. Like they did a lot of really unique things in there that it's not just a standing animatronic or a figure. Because
the fun of the Roger Rabbit movie was Toons interacting with humans, and so it was all these, you know, Toons can leave a rabbit-shaped hole in the Venetian blinds. And the ride really plays on that. It plays on the things that Toons can do that humans can't, and kind of puts you in that action. Since it's in the back of the park, it's one that you might feel like, we don't have time, we need to skip something, let's skip that. But try to make it to that one, because that one's just a lot of fun. We recommend it. Okay, so the last full ride that we're going to cover is Monsters, Inc., and it's over in California Adventure in Disneyland. Or Disneyland, across
California.
the way.
Yep. And that one, it originally was a different ride. Most people didn't like it, and so in some cases when you ride this, it might feel a little bit cheap or because it wasn't made for Monsters, Inc.
Right.
But they did it anyway, and it's cool, and it does justice to the movie, I feel like. Especially the part when you're going through the hanging doors. That's cool. Really neat.
Yeah, the door room.
Yeah. And if I remember right, I think you see Randall like disappear at one point, which is kind of cool. So we really enjoyed that one, and it's definitely like a classic dark ride.
This is a newer version of a dark ride, which I think is really cool. So the last ones we're going to go with are not, the rides themselves are not unique to Disneyland, but there's a seasonal theming that is. So It's a Small World and
Haunted Mansion.
Haunted Mansion.
Yep.
Yes. So yes, those exist in both parks. We've talked about the differences between the two.
But these holiday overlays are not.
There's a Christmas overlay for each one.
Yeah.
So It's a Small World gets Christmas Around the World theming, which we haven't seen. I will say we haven't ridden these.
Yeah.
But it's just, from what we've seen, it's a really cool overlay of what Christmas looks like around the world.
Yep.
And
the
then
Haunted Mansion one is Nightmare Before Christmas.
Which I would love to do because I love that movie. The story's not great, but the music and the animation, it's amazing. And so they play on that idea of Halloween mixing with Christmas, and they do a Christmas theme with Jack Skellington. So there's some really cool, if you go around Christmas time, you can check out those.
But I think some people love it so much, and then other people hate it so much that they had to do it, people had thought about, well, what if we just do this for forever? And other people were like, absolutely not. So they had to do like this overlay type of thing where it goes away and then it comes back, and that works really well for them. But again, they haven't done it over at Walt Disney World.
So anyway, those are the dark rides that are unique to Disneyland. If there's anything we missed or anything you want us to cover in a future video, put it in the comments below.
And that's it. We'll see you on the flip-flop.
So long.